radio. Therefore, the nature of our times, the mass struggle against bankers, against Wall Street, against the City of London, against the International Monetary Fund, the Bank for International Settlements, the World Trade Organization, all of this. That's the struggle. However, in order to win, you need a program. You must have a program. It's not enough to go with your spontaneous demands, my group should not pay. It's got to be broader. What's the reform in the entire society that would include your group, but also the interest of 90 to 95% of the rest of the people, so you can gain support, spread the strike, build a large-scale coalition? It's things like this. Tobin tax on the bankers. Ban credit default swaps. Ban adjustable rate mortgages. Ban foreclosures for 5 years or the duration of the world economic depression, whichever comes later, whichever lasts longer. Now, this week, and it's interesting, we've been raising here the demand to strike at derivatives. Strike now against derivatives. Do something to remove the 1.5 quadrillion derivatives burden under which humanity is groaning. Humanity is crushed under 1.5 quadrillion of fictitious capital in the form of derivatives. So, headline, Wall Street Journal, Wednesday, March 10th, swaps come under fire. And they say, well, it's U.S. regulators and European leaders are looking for more oversight on trades in derivatives. It's more. This is outright proposals to ban, to outlaw credit default swaps. And it's about bloody time. But we have to look at this. This is something that deserves to be supported in the same way when the AFL-CIO and Robert Kuttner come out for the Tobin tax, the Wall Street sales tax. We're for it, no matter what reservations we have about these people making the demand. This is the programmatic honesty of you know what your program is, and therefore you can support initiatives not based on what you think about the person, but based on the direction of the proposal, at least largely so. So here's what we have. Because of this outrageous attack by the Soros hedge fund group, and we saw it in previous weeks, right? Greenlight Capital, SAC Capital, Soros Fund Management, Brigade Capital. We saw that infamous meeting on February 8th in the Manhattan townhouse that was reported on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, which I discussed then to some extent on Russia Today. Because of this outrageous use of hedge funds and derivatives with high-level leverage, more than 20 to 1, but starting at 20 to 1 and up leverage, there's now a worldwide movement to do something about derivatives, and the Europeans are angry because they see that these derivatives have been used to attack them. So we have Jose Manuel Barroso, head of the European Commission. Now, somebody we don't like. If you listen to this program, we know what we think of Barroso. But now, let's listen to what he says. The European Union executive boss says the European Commission would examine closely the possibility of an outright ban on purely speculative trading of swaps. Well, there's already a big exit clause there, right? A big escape hatch for Barroso. We need to ban credit default swaps. U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission Chairman Gary Gensler on Tuesday says he's got offering, according to the Wall Street Journal, his most specific criticisms of credit default swaps. He wants to limit their use, although he did not go as far as to suggest a ban on speculative trading with credit default swaps. German Chancellor Angela Merkel, we think of her too, but that doesn't matter right now. Her government, the German government in Berlin, backing an initiative to curb the credit default swaps market. Germany joined by France, Greece, and Luxembourg. Luxembourg is important because that's a banking center. That place is offshore. So lots of banks in Luxembourg. Greek Prime Minister George Papandreou, what we think of him too. But when he came to Washington to meet with Barack Obama, he did not, at least in public, demand any bailout funds from the United States. But what he did ask for was that the U.S. regime curb the activities of these hedge funds and investment banks. Now, this is the hardest sell of all, of course, because Geithner and Obama are owned and controlled, lock, stock, and barrel, by Wall Street, by Jamie Dimon, by Lloyd Blankfein, by Pandit the Bandit, and the rest of them. But Papandreou said he found a very positive response from Obama on the European proposal to curb these hedge fund activities. European leaders Tuesday encouraged global action from the U.S. and other countries, but they say they will not wait. So, according to the Wall Street Journal article, credit default swaps are now up to $25 trillion. Now, that's lowball. That's still more than the gross domestic product of the United States. It's probably more than the gross domestic product of the United States plus China plus, well, let's see how far we can get. But it's way more than $25 trillion. How do we know? Because we don't know. Because swaps and other over-the-counter counterparty derivatives, designer derivatives, structured notes are not reportable. Thanks to the victory of Bullet Bob Rubin and Greenspan over Brooksley Born back in the late 90s in Clinton's second term, we don't know the true mass of derivatives. We just know that it's huge, and we must strike back against derivatives. The $25 trillion comes from the International Swaps and Derivatives Association. That is an enemy alien, my friends. That should be declared an enemy alien under the Trading with the Enemy Act, and they should be sanctioned. They should be vested, in other words, seized. All assets of the International Swaps and Derivatives Association should be seized by the U.S. government. That's the only way it can come about. So the issue of a ban on credit default swaps, one of the most dangerous types of derivatives, will be discussed at a meeting of the European Union finance ministers in Brussels sometime now around, the week of the 15th of March. So maybe it'll be the Ides of March for derivatives. Is that possible? Yes, it's possible. Now remember why this is so important. Credit default swap is a form of insurance, but the people who were selling these things do not meet the capital requirements and other regulatory requirements of being an insurance company. In other words, to sell insurance, you've got to have a certain depth of capital, you've got to have backup systems, reinsurance, and all the rest of it. Credit default swaps, it's done by the seat of the pants. There's no thought of tomorrow. These are purely speculative bets. And that's, of course, why AIG London, with their $3 trillion of derivatives, mainly credit default swaps, has so far cost the U.S. taxpayer $200 billion or more, the most expensive, or one of the most expensive parts of the entire bailout. And we remember that about a year ago, Senator Warner, in Senate hearings, asked Bernanke, should there be a bright line prohibition of credit default swaps? And Bernanke said, I can't rule it out. We'll consider it. Well, don't hold your breath. Fight to ban credit default swaps and tax other derivatives out of existence. Back in a minute.